What is up, everybody? As you guys can see, the chat has been fixed. So now it's actually, I could actually read it now. I don't think I need to go off the screen anymore. Yeah, we fixed a lot of things. Got the Discord, the White Elephants Discord. Got my little avatar. I think it does look like me. Have the YouTube count. A lot of these things, for some reason on OBS, they don't really work that well. Whoops, that was an accident. Okay, let me see if I can fix it really quick. Views. Okay, it's weird. It's like all you have to do is like reset it and then it works. Yeah, see, now it'll work. It's kind of weird how that goes. Picks and chooses when it decides to work, that's for sure. Alright, let's see. David Y. Scam. David, can we call you Strawberry Shortcake? I don't know why. It's not like I have red hair or anything. I mean, I can't stop you. If you guys want to call me a lesbian Lego, I can't really stop you. Korn is a gay band. I don't like all their stuff, but I do like some of their songs. Don't eat poop. I don't know why. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you shouldn't eat poop, that's for sure. Oh, okay, so you guys are still talking about the gay stuff. Okay, well, if you need anyone to blame the nearest whammon. But in this case, it's full on blame. Emily was here. She was hanging out for a little while, and I guess she switched the name. I didn't know she had the IQ to know how to do it, but she changed the name of the live streams, and I hit live and all that because I did on OBS. I don't really, you changed all this stuff based off the YouTube live dashboard, so I didn't really check it before I went live. So that's what she did, and there will be some punishments, that's for sure. So hopefully she got her laugh out of her system. There will be a punishment, that's for sure. Yeah, people are talking. You guys are Carl's talking about baked. Baked is still popular. What are you? Did you get in a time machine and go back like a year or something? Oh man, it's funny stuff. That chat box is horribly unreadable. Plus, all the text is caps. Well, Stephen James, if you think that looks bad, you should have looked at the previous live streams because it was completely unlegible. Now it's somewhat. I think I still need to change. I still need to change it a little bit. But if you've looked at the other types of themes, this is way better. This is way better than the other ones because the other ones are pretty garbage. This one is at least it's kind of nice. Deep down, everyone went gay except me. Everybody's in the closet except for anti-Antifa. WTF, even beer commercials are now pushing SJW, regressive Marxist BS. Everything is. I just feel like the White State, they really got brainwashed. When you're into hating yourself, I mean, that's something. They were saying Baked and RC were experimenting. I'd like to hear who said that. Oh. Maybe if you move PC, what's up? Maybe if you move over to your right, you could stretch the text box. And look, guys, I'll fix it. I don't want to try to do it on stream, but next stream I'll fix it. I'll make sure it's 100% legible. It's just kind of tough though because I can't really tell what it looks like unless people are actually commenting. So, Victor got trapped a couple times. That's not very good. Alright, well, it seems like you guys are talking about all this stuff. Arflet, Maxwell gave me bad advice in the very beginning. Yeah, you know what? A lot of people are smart. We understand who's scummy. We understand who's a merchant. We understand who's a leech. There's different names in the political spectrum. We call them merchants. In the normie live streaming, they call them leeches. Basically, same thing. They're just someone they're trying to suck a little bit of blood out of someone else's wallet, right? They want what you have, and so they try to act all buddy buddy with you so that they can get some of it. But people can tell, if someone goes on Ice Poseidon's live stream and all of a sudden they're trying to shout out their own thing, people understand what they're doing. They're like, leech, right? They understand. The text in that style of font does not look good, though. It just has to be legible. I mean, if you go on Streamlabs and you look at the other themes, there's really nothing else that's very just clean, Alright, so as per the usual, let's see. Okay, so today's stream, I was going to invite. Let me just put my laptop up because I don't want it to overheat because I can feel some heat coming out of it. I have to put it on top of this thing. Here we go. All right. So I need to invite Gregory. Gregory Malchuk is going to come on today, and he's going to talk about. We're going to talk about some. All right. Let's see. Let me change the stream. Because Emily screwed it all up. Let's see. We're going to talk about vaccines. Because yesterday I was supposed to get to that, but I didn't get to it, unfortunately. So we're going to talk about vaccines. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Probably vaccine, circumcision. Yeah, so Victor, if you want to come in, if you have time to talk, I would like to have Victor in there. I'd like to make sure that this is a very educational stream. I don't want any spurgy stuff like we had yesterday going on. So, let's see. Discord is kind of slow. I have 2 people in the waiting room, but I don't know. I think they were there beforehand, so it's kind of, you know. I am a little late today, but of course, the only reason I'm late is because of Emily. So if you guys have any blame, put it on her, please. And hopefully this thing doesn't light on fire. My Discord is kind of slow. Alright, well, hopefully Gregory comes on. Until then, let's see what you guys have to say. You guys are really just talking about a lot of past stuff, it looks like. It is sad that the only issues that politicians are running on in California is gun confiscation and giving more free stuff to illegal aliens. What happened yesterday? I don't know what you're talking about, Dr. Strangelove. But if any of you guys want to come chat, join the Discord that Michelle just posted about, and you could jump right in here, and we could talk about whatever you want. I do want to make sure we do get to vaccines, though. You know what? I want to talk about vaccines. I want to talk about. Okay, we're gonna call it the woman question. I feel like talking about women. I feel like talking about vaccines. I don't know what else. All right. Well, this is a laid back stream. I wanted to have Gregory on, but there's no, you know, Joseph Siddle just joined. Awesome. This is a laid back stream, so this isn't all right. Let me pull over Balboa. Balboa.
Yo, what's going on, man?
All right, what's up?
Doing great, man. It's a wonderful day today.
Yeah, seems pretty good. Pretty good. I know most of my stream. I'm really glad I was able to fix a lot. The font and the chat looks better. I have a
Yeah,
lot of activity going on. As you can see on the screen, it shows your icon and mine. Other than I think the only things I had to add is probably like a green screen and maybe
yeah,
like a little label on the top. But I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, the stream has gone from just like a cell phone, me talking to the
yeah.
comments to all of this. So
Yeah.
it's kind of nice
I,
how everything has rolled out.
Dude, it would be kind of different since everyone does a green screen background with some sort of regular, just sort of edgy background. It would be cool if you do your stuff like by a window and see a nice outdoor setting. You know what I mean? Nice view or something.
Yeah, yeah. I know what Fuentes, he has his whole little like his like studio look. But yeah, I think I look, this is like a laid back show first and foremost. It's not
Yeah,
professional. I do not want it to be professional. I kind of want the atmosphere of the Joe Rogan experience where everyone's just kind of
yeah,
chatting and talking about
yeah,
ideas and stuff. So I want that kind of atmosphere.
yeah. You just want a conversation, not a debate.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, we could have debates, but honestly, I like having conversations and probably like fights. Like
Yeah, yeah,
having a proper debate where you go, then they go. I don't like that very much. If someone wants to come in here, they want to start screaming over each other and dropping ad hominems.
yeah,
I think that's pretty fun. And that's what we had the other day when we had analytical chick and we had like Doctor Strangelove. It was just nothing but
hmm
throwing punches at each other the whole time.
Damn. Uh, Yeah, I got in pretty late with Asmodor. That's a guy. That's a guy I like to talk. Would like to talk to. He seems to be very knowledgeable and seems to be have a really interesting perspective on things.
Yeah, he had a lot of knowledge and he wasn't afraid to share it. So,
Yeah,
he's I don't know, I didn't know who he was. Like people in my chat, like when he first came in, they were like, "Oh, he's like a Daily Stormer guy." And so I thought, he might be like a bad optics guy who comes in and starts shouting about, the Jews and
yeah,
the N-words and all that. But no, he came in here, normal guy, he donates, you know, comes in here. I don't even think he dropped any racial slurs or anything like that. So,
yeah,
yeah, cool dude.
yeah. I found him through Emily Yukis. I was like, man, who's this guy Asmodor? That's an interesting name. He's like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like him. I mean, if I'd like to have him probably every stream. Yeah, he had a lot of knowledge. The sucky thing was we had a great conversation last night, but it was just rolling on for too long. So it was just I
Yeah,
had to cut it short, unfortunately.
yeah.
Yeah. Probably should have downed some coffee or something. I feel a little on the like on the tired side today. So if you guys don't see anything crazy today, I think it's mainly because I think we're all tired. Like
Yeah,
I
it's
just
Monday.
yeah, that and then all of the drama just got finished with the IBS, all that weird stuff, and I feel.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Bloodsports is dying?
Yeah, there's only so much non-constructive arguing you could take and pretty much it. Are we still arguing? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like it's somewhat forced, and if it's forced, it's not really much of a real argument.
Yeah, it's like it's one thing having debates and that debate leads to someone either changing a viewpoint or solving a problem. But when you're just arguing for the sake of arguing, just to feed someone's need for blood sports, to just go after one another, it's not very constructive. It's like a spectacle.
Yeah, like I like Dylon, but when he came on here yesterday, he tried to turn it into blood sports, and the thing is, you
Yeah,
can't just turn it into blood sports. Like
yeah,
either either it turns into a blood sport or it doesn't. You can't artificially just go in and be like, all right, let's do blood sports. I'm just gonna start arguing with you about something. Like it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Yeah, people think you just bait some in, throw some ad hominems, in there. Like nah. Some guys don't take the bait. Some guys like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking about all that, it's a funny thing to talk about is I want to talk about Starbucks
Yeah.
because I was reading some articles and it's like you can go in there. Not only can you use their bathroom without paying, but you could just lounge around. You could just sit in there without paying. So, what do you think are going to be some of the ramifications of that?
Well, since I happen to live in this city where this whole thing went down about the whole Starbucks, the particular Starbucks that this incident occurred, one was in a place called Whittinghouse Square. Whittinghouse Square is a very nice part of the city, but it's a part of the city outside of Whittinghouse Park, and that's kind of like how should I say this? That's a very high priced condominium area, right by, and also it's also not that far away from I think it's Delancey Street either. These are very high end buildings. But since any nice park in the city, you're going to get homeless. So the fact that you had to pay for a cup of coffee. Now this is no different than anything. See, I remember having to the bathroom at McDonald's up in the city of Boston. They said no, you have to buy something before you let you use the bathroom. I said fine. I bought myself a Happy Meal and went to go to the bathroom. The fact that they'll now allow the just to just walk in the bathroom now with that amount of volume of usage in that particular geographic area, I don't. That's now. I don't need now. When I see a Starbucks, I'm going to try to find a different bathroom than that Starbucks. There's nothing more disgusting than seeing a bathroom that was used by 500 people before you showed up there.
Yeah, I feel good about it though because these
Yeah,
leftist organizations like this, they have no defenses against this. Like if there's some black people or whatever have you, Muslims, whatever, they go there and they have a little minuscule example of oppression. They can destroy the whole business because Starbucks and these people have no ability to be able to fight against that. Like all they
yeah,
can do is hire a bunch of diversity trainings, give a bunch of money to some organizations, but at the end of the day, they're losing a bunch of money,
yeah,
and then a lot of people aren't going to want to go there anymore because if you go there, there's going to be homeless people all around. People, the
yeah,
bathrooms are going to be terrible because people are just it might as well be a public restroom, right? And then the employees will probably get frustrated because they have to deal with. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw this video of this woman that went into, I don't know if it was a Starbucks, but she went into a restaurant. She needed to go to the bathroom. Seemed a little crazy. And then the person said no. And then she crapped in her hand and straight up
yeah.
threw it at the guy. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I saw that. I think Alex Jones was spreading that around.
Was
Yeah,
that
that was pretty sick.
was that Starbucks?
Yeah, that was at a Starbucks. Uh, that was before they put the nationwide policy where anybody can use the bathroom. See, it's crazy. Some corporations are more sensitive to this other, but they're more afraid of like the bully mob. Like I can't tell you how many times, but the whole cliche about how doing the whole going to a supermarket, having a little slip and fall accident, trying to go after the insurance, and usually businesses will try to fight that tooth and nail. Now you just make up an incident, and now they're so scared about looking bad for the PR, they will literally give you into that person's demand, whether that demand is legitimate or not. Because here's the funny thing: that manager was fired from Starbucks, and that lady actually followed Starbucks' protocol for handling that situation to the T. He actually followed company policy, and she still get fired for it. So I mean, oof, I'm just glad when I hear that stuff. I'm just glad I'm part of the
Well,
can't
yeah,
get
I'm
fired.
just
Can't get
glad.
fired for doing the job.
Yeah, I'm just glad that it's just a bunch of leftist people cannibalizing each other. We see a
Oh
big
yeah,
leftist organization that even talked about or hinting at hiring refugees, and this company is now losing money. And
yeah,
who knows, like because of these policies, not only, well, first of all, when you give in to these crazy radical people that boss you around, when you give in to them, they go after you harder. So watch, all these people are going to come into this into the Starbucks. Obviously, there's going to be a situation. Some of the employees, someone who's like not entirely cucked out, is going to say something, and
Yeah,
another situation's going to happen. Another accusation's going to be dropped, and it's going to
yeah,
keep happening until Starbucks puts their foot down and they end it.
yeah,
But if they're a leftist, then that means that they can't do that because if you put your foot down, that means you're mean. These people
yeah,
have to give money. They have to apologize 24/7. They have to cuck out all the time.
yeah.
So I think this could be the very start. I think this is going to take a while, but I think this is the start of the end of Starbucks.
I'm hopefully too. Uh, Overpriced coffee, and most people. Now I don't really go to Starbucks that often. Uh, the most places I go to, I mean, there's another company, Barnes and Nobles. I mean, I can't tell you the last time I bought a book at Barnes and Nobles. I read a lot of books in Barnes and Nobles, read a lot of comics in Barnes and Nobles. Never actually bought anything there because between the Starbucks in there and the books, I said, why would I need that? Why, I literally treated it when I was in my younger years. Literally treated Barnes and Nobles as a library.
Yeah, I think, well, they might have a certain business idea. Like maybe they think, well, if you go there and read our books for free, if you really like it, you'll buy it. And if you're there for a long time, maybe they see according to data or something that a lot of
Yeah,
people, if they stay there so long that they're buying a lot of food there, because I know
yeah,
they have like a little cafe. Um,
yeah,
I don't know, maybe if they if in their business plan they think, oh well, if we let people read the stuff instead of putting them in plastic, like you had to
yeah,
buy it and then open it up, like they used to do in the past, maybe that brings in more people because it turns into a hangout spot. And if it turns into a hangout spot, then that gives them more advertising, more chances for people to buy things because maybe they want to take it, read it at home in a comfort. Maybe it might work, but like you said. I've been to a lot of those places as well, and I just end up reading them there. I mean, there are some books I do want to keep, but
yeah,
I think most people go there. They sit in a chair somewhere, and it's very tough to find a chair, by the way. And then they'll
yeah,
sit there, read their book. If they can't find a chair, they'll just sit somewhere on the floor, read their
yeah.
anime, read their comics, read their science fiction, and then once they're done, they would probably just leave.
Yeah. The one good thing about this now is since Starbucks since they were so scared about the crybaby mob, they caved in even though they pre-bricked company policy to handle this situation, and the employee followed it, and they still fired him, they still admitted guilt, even though they weren't guilty to begin with. The guys refused to leave, and even when they were asked to leave, last time I remember, when you're at an establishment and you refuse to leave, that's called loitering. I mean that's a law in every city in America. Loitering laws. Every city has loitering laws. Now I'm waiting to see if what else incident's going to happen that's going to cause Starbucks to fear the cry bully mob again. Who knows? You might get a couple animal rights activists complaining about the treatment of the coffee beans in the store. I want fair treatment of coffee beans, and they might cuck on that. Who knows? I mean, the mind of the leftist is one of confusion and disorientation. White wing people are known for the orderliness. Left wing people are known for the chaos.
Yeah, I would say that the leftist mindsets, as nice as they seem on the surface, at the end of the day, those kinds of beliefs are the ones that end up destroying societies.
Yeah,
Whereas right wing beliefs are the ones that create ones. So when Rome was a mere village, it had to have these strong right wing nationalistic ideas to be able to turn into an empire. And then once it became an empire, then you become weak, you become lazy, you're at the top, right? You don't really care, you become arrogant.
exactly.
And then you gain these like more leftist mindsets. You start questioning things that you never would have questioned. You're like,
Yeah,
well, how did I get here? And you start like even in the United States, they'll question all the laws. Like, why do we even have a border? I mean, free speech. Like, maybe we should modify things. I mean, it's 2018. It's not 1776. We should start questioning things. We start changing things. And so once you do that, you end up crumbling everything,
yeah,
and then we'll go through this cycle and we'll start all over again.
yeah.
Um,
I like the whole happening now because there's a couple places around my area that are switching to unisex bathrooms. And I have a younger sister. She's like, oh, that's a good idea. I said, are you kidding me? Like you come when you lived at home with me, uh, all you do is complain about me and Dad going to the bathroom and how we were pigs in the bathroom. Do you really want to go to a place where there's a unisex bathroom and God knows how many men been to that bathroom? I mean, we are pigs. I mean, I feel and going to a men's bathroom, I feel more comfortable just going outside in the woods than I do actually going into an actual men's bathroom. It's a lot cleaner going out in the woods. I said, do you really want to share that sort of space with a man? We are gross. We're animals. Yet that's some sort of civil rights victory. That's so good and quality. No, you're not. You're gonna be wishing you change your mind as soon as you get the first whiff.
Yeah, I would say if you wanted to end all these bathrooms, go in there. If you're a guy, go in there and just piss all over the seats. Don't even try to make it. Just piss everywhere. And
Yeah,
if enough people do that enough times, they'll use that as an excuse to say, "Oh, men are so disgusting. Let's kick them out of our bathrooms."
yeah,
And so I think that's the solution. That's
yeah,
whenever I go into one of those bathrooms, I try to make sure that it is absolutely a slip and slide.
yeah, yeah. Especially what you do is the day before you want to play some good prank. The day before you want to go to the bathrooms with all the women in there and men. Eat nothing but chimichangas and bean burritos for a whole day, and then go in there the next day and just let it rip. Because you'd be surprised how many people are going to be regretting, how many women are going to be regretting the concept of unisex bathrooms or non-binary bathrooms. They're going to be ever even thinking about
I
that. Just
mean,
rip, just go there and go rip.
I do live kind of close to a Starbucks, and I think that anytime we have to go to the bathroom, we should probably go to a Starbucks.
Yeah,
Really don't hold back either.
yeah,
Oh, look who's in here. Sierra's in here.
yeah. Yeah, it's close. I mean, somebody's feminists. I said, man, if you're really pushing for that sort of equality, you better make sure you're gonna understand why there's two different men's bathrooms, and you're gonna have to learn a hard lesson.
Yeah, speaking of genders and all of that, what do you think about? I was watching a clip from Bill Maher, and I don't do this very regularly, and they brought this guy on and they ended up talking about incels. And so I guess this guy was some sort of sex expert. So Bill Maher was asking him about incels and all that. And he was talking about how basically a lot of his patients and the people he sees, a lot of them are, a lot of them are men and a lot of them are like into their late 20s, early 30s, and they've never like complete virgins. And he was kind of saying that basically there's a lot of issues going on with men, and because of it, you can see that there's all these reactionary groups. You got like the
Yeah,
MGTOWs running around. You have all the Nick Fuentes fans running around,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and then you have like the incel group. So,
yeah,
which would be
yeah.
probably like the more extreme, like radicals of all the men hating. I guess I didn't know that they were a movement, but he was
Yeah.
saying that some of the things that they want is they want women to go back to being property. They want prostitution to be legalized and things like that. So, what's your thoughts on that movement?
Well, one thing how to identify since talking to some of these kids, uh, I've been looking at going around to some of my nephews around. I've been purposely how to identify a formerly MGTOW or up and coming incel. Oh, the waifu, the pillow waifu is always a dead giveaway. Always look up for the anime waifu pillow, dead giveaway. But one thing about some of these guys, these young MGTOW guys, I can understand. I'm 30 years old. Uh, the funny thing about it, don't listen to pop culture. Don't watch the 1980s movies from back in the day where they always said like between the age of 15 to when you're 25 is the best time. Well, that's a lie. I can tell you right now, the worst times of my life, the time that I had the least amount of fun was from the time I was 15 to 25. And by the time I got to 25, things just seemed just one day I just woke up one day and said, "Oh, it's a pretty nice day out." And it just seems to get better. But I'm 30 now, and I can tell you right now, my 30th year on this earth has been the funnest time of my life. I can go anywhere, do anything. I've always all the people who I've ever known in my life, still my friends, are still my friends. I have almost no toxic people. all the toxic people who used to be around eventually work themselves out of my life just at a time. I'm eventually going to buy a house soon, probably next year. It's a lot easier when you get older because when you're younger, you don't know about what you want. Two, you don't have yourself established. And three, by the time you get to your 30s, that's when as a man, you're supposed to be starting to work your way out of it. You know what you want. You have a vision of what you want to go in life. You know what you want, what you don't want. So some of these guys that are throwing in the tail when they're in their teenage, 19, I remember one time I was hanging out with my older sister. She invited me to a party. She's a couple years older than me. I was like I'm 19 years old. I met her next door neighbor at another party in the city of Philadelphia. There was a girl there at this party. I really liked her a lot, and she liked me. I didn't go to college. I wasn't a college student at the time. I had a full-time job, but she liked the way I lived. I gave a good impression on her. I thought I was in. I thought I was good. So the girlfriend I loved. My body. She at the time she was going on some sort of art degree. I didn't really give a crap.
Art degree.
Yeah. I said I don't care. She had a body enough. She says I don't give a crap. Then all of a sudden, that good. I'm in. Then all of a sudden, the next guy comes down the street. He's using a skateboard, but using like one of the sidewalk surfing skateboards, those real big ones, those Land Cruisers. And she was like, her face like lit up, like, oh my God, look how hot he is. And I'm like, look at him, and I'm, okay, this dude is going to skateboard. I'm like 21 years old at the time. She's like 22. I'm like, okay, if you're 22 years old and you still think that a skateboarder guy is cool, and I have a full-time job and everything, I'm looking at him and go, maybe you still don't got your priorities right. Maybe maybe the people I'm associated with, our priorities aren't matching up. But it should actually get better with time. Men mature like wine. We get better with age. Women are like fruit. You got a grace period. Too early, they're too green. You can't. I mean, you go to a produce market. You pick up a nice apple. If it's too green, it's bitter. If it's too ripe, it's rotten. So you got to find that every woman has that sweet spot. I'm assuming with my experiences of dating right now, the sweet spot with women are between the age of 25 to in the early 30s. When they start getting the late 30s, some are good, some are bad. It depends on the type of background and type of person. For guys to be like 19 to be mid-tail, I think that's way too. You don't have enough scars left. You haven't built up enough scars, enough rejection to be that bitter.
Yeah, I just think throughout at that age, obviously your body's instructing you to do certain things all the time, and when you have no way of getting these getting these feelings out of you in a direct way, I think most men can deal with it, but there's a small percentage of people that obviously can't deal with it, and it has not. Yeah, go ahead.
And do you know what else was the thing about some of these guys? I said when it comes to when you're having these emotions, I'm assuming when I was 19, I was so jacked up on testosterone, horned up. I could drive home for a chair. I could just go at it. But like I said, some of the other women dating girls at the time, I still use the term girls because that's kind of they still have that mentality. It wasn't lining up. Then it wasn't until I was like early 22. I would tell some of these young guys that they just want to swear off women that are below the age of 25. I said, dude, why don't you get yourself on Match.com, one of them nice legitimate dating websites, and go get yourself a nice cougar. I mean, don't throw the whole thing. You go get yourself a cougar, man. I mean, they're gonna have a good time. Most of them don't all they want to do is use you for company anyway. They want to go take you out for a good time anyway. Go settle for a nice cougar. Go get.
Yeah, I think when women get older, like you brought up, it's very important when they reach certain ages when like their looks start to fade, people start to ignore hey, you're pretty, you're dumb as shit, or you have no personality, or you're an asshole, but you're pretty, so I'll just deal with it. Once they get older, it's no, you don't have these pretty features anymore. Now I'm just looking at you for who you are, and you're a piece of shit, and you have no personality because you've been pretty your whole life. So people have been they've been letting you cut slack all the time because of that. But now that those features are gone, now we see who you really are, and it's not. It's not great. Like most guys, you have to build a personality. You have to create value for yourself. If you want a woman to like you, you have to create value. Like the reason why I guarantee you, there's probably millions of girls that want to get with the Royals, is because they have value. They are princes, right? They're valuable.
They got stats.
Yeah, so you have to create value for people to want you. But if you're just some like nobody, and maybe you're not good, if you're just some average Joe, some average kid, and you have no value, you have to do something. You have to build a personality. You have to find a way to collect some wealth. You have to, I don't know, do something. I mean, that's the whole point of becoming rich, is when you become rich, you have these other things, Look, the light is in my face, so keep on the subject. I just got to go fix the light because it's like really annoying.
Yeah, no, the whole MGTOW thing, I kind of like, I'm a little older, so this whole MGTOW thing didn't really exist when I was in my early teens. The whole I guess the closest thing to being MGTOW was just the fact that you couldn't get a girlfriend. The incel was there, but not necessarily as some sort of viciousness to make people guys go crazy and shoot up places. It just meant you couldn't get a girl, no one, which means you had to go. And since you couldn't get a girlfriend and no girl wanted you, which means two things happen: is either you use it as an opportunity to go work on something yourself, reflect and work inward, or you just use some guys break and they just give up. They don't care. They retreat in the video games, which is I think is the most destructive thing you could ever do. Yeah.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. For someone, if you, I'll put it this way: the three things if you want to make your life a lot.
What was that?
You want to make. That was my mother. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She's sleeping. She all yelled at me. But if you as you get older, three things you if I get advice to young men, don't even think when you're in the early 20s, don't even think about it. They're distraction. It's good to have a good time with them, but in terms of actually taking it seriously, you never take it seriously. You should be building on yourself because the times where I had periods when I had a girlfriend, I think it actually benefited me. It stunk at the time, but in long term, it actually worked out better. Because when I was able to save my money, she was able to work on something on myself. I mean, and another thing is that if you're not working on something, furthering your education or trying to get in that field of study where it's going to help you out in terms of business, financially, you're going to have to, you should always be mindful of how well you look too, because that's the truth of me. In my early 20s, I think I was around 22 years old. I went to third at my job. I went to third shift for a couple of years. I tried it out. Like, yeah, it's only going to be. I worked from 11:30 and I got off at 6. I said, yeah, that's pretty cool. It's a pretty interesting change of hours. I wonder what I'll do during the day. So I started looking around with other hobbies and activities. I started going to the gym like every morning. Then I got home around 10 o'clock. I said, okay, I slept for a couple of hours, wake up in the afternoon, still a couple more hours. What else can I do? I eventually joined a amateur men's rugby team for a couple of years. That was an extremely rewarding experience. And luckily, since I was still working, single, and had a job, and I still had a good career, and on top of it, I was keeping fit. Now that I'm 30 years old, even though I'm good as shit, I was in my early 20s, I'm still reasonably enough good shape, and my body's still in good health. Where now I can go back to the gym and work on it even more. Now I got everything. I got the career. I'm gonna get my own house. Now I'm like top choice steak now when it comes to women.
Yeah, if you have something of value and you have your head
Yeah,
on your shoulders, like you're taking care of yourself, you understand what's going on. Basically, if you're not a loser, you have
yeah,
more value than, than. But I mean, there are some losers, as you said before, that that do have value for some reason. I guess it's because they
yeah,
come off as like they don't really care. They're different than everybody else, and when you're a woman nowadays, you get to choose the cream of the crop,
yeah,
right? You don't go after just the like. I mean, if you think about women nowadays, they're free to do whatever they want. They could dress however they want. They can be with whoever they want. They can be a gigantic whore, and it's basically
yeah,
accepted in society. They can do whatever they want, and so if you have all these doors in front of you, you could choose any of them. You could choose any of these guys. You could do anything. You could even choose women. You could do anything you want. So, from what I've seen, it seems like what they do is they just decide to actually, when people have all these options, they tend to not choose anything, is from what I've seen. Um,
yeah,
I don't know how much, I don't know the sex difference between men and women. I think, I don't, because I know people are having, like, Gen Z is, like, not interested in sex at all. Even millennials are, like, not having sex. Like, actually, they said the greatest generation actually had more sex than millennials. So, the more
yeah,
options and the more open everyone is to sex and things like that, the less sex they have. And it's probably why in Japan, actually, no one's having kids. No one's even having sex because it's just so perverse. So the more perverse your society gets, the less people actually even have sex, let alone like have kids or things like that. So it is kind of interesting. And it actually shows you too. And here's another example of the same thing happening. Like with the internet, like people have so many ways to socialize and talk and all of these things and to be connected to all these people they never would have ever met in their normal lives. But because of the internet and they have all these ways of socializing, now people don't socialize. They don't even leave their own house. So it's like people like rates of depression, rates of loneliness are increasing. No one really even goes outside. No one talks, and then not only that, but millennials and people like that have terrible social skills. Uh, so it is funny that in a lot of ways, when you give someone something, they, it's like if you give them a cup of water, they'll drink it, but if you give them an ocean, they won't drink at all, sort of thing.
hmm yeah. It's like when it comes to the internet thing, it's like we're becoming a generation of bugmen. There it
The
is.
bugman, yeah, the bugman. That's it's just interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's just you think like, oh, if I give them, if they do so well with just so little, imagine if I gave them everything. But then you give them everything, and then all of a sudden they're like, we don't even like Legos anymore. It's like
Yeah,
we don't even want to play this game anymore. It's like you kill it
well,
once you give them overabundance.
yeah, and I'm not surprised that the greatest generation had the most sex because that was before STDs, before HIV. If you worst thing that was going to happen to you back then, you're going to come on after a crazy night for a woman, and your pee's going to burn, and you just go to the doctor, yourself a little penicillin, and that's it. You'll be out, yeah, you'll be out in the street doing the same thing you're doing, getting freaky with 3 days later. You know what I mean? That was pre STDs. That was been a good time.
Well, I mean, people say that, but like when we talk about Gen Z for the most part, and when we talk about the pendulum swinging, people are talking about white people.
Yeah,
That's who they're talking about when they say, "Oh, Gen Z is the most conservative ever." It's mainly whites. Like other races are also increasing, but for the most part, it's mainly whites that we're talking about.
yeah,
So I mean, that's the weird part in this country is usually a country will think one way, and then the pendulum will shift, and you'll have like another group fighting for control of the country. But it's like we're having that fight, but at the same time, we're importing other people that are not affected by the pendulum whatsoever
yeah,
coming in. So we're having this fight, and then you're having these outside forces kind of, and then we're having this tribal warfare too. So it's I don't know what's going to happen, and it's very weird
yeah,
how there's so many things at play. It's not just like, for instance, like in a lot of countries, it's homogenous society, but it's the rich versus the poor. It's the plebs versus the
yeah,
patricians. But now it's like we have gender battles, men versus women. We have all these different races which are competing for control, and then also we have political ideologies fighting, and it's just it's just it seems like complete chaos here.
Yeah, I know. It will. What it is that how should I say this? Uh, we're heading to a time of where it's like it's like a tree. All these new branches are forming on the tree, but not all these branches, as the tree grows, is going to last to the season. Eventually, a strong wind's going to blow. It's going to break these branches and fall off. Not all these different strange novelty concepts, these novelty ways of living and conducting yourself in the world is going to last for a couple of years. I mean, it's always like it's always, when it comes to choosing what is more efficient than other, whatever is how you live. If it takes the less amount of energy but gives you the same amount of results, that's usually what you want to always bank on. If whatever it is you're doing takes a lot of energy, regardless of how much the output is, how much you get in the end result, it's always about how much energy you put in versus how much you get out. So a lot of these whole, how should I say, I want to say like non-binary, non-conforming people. I'm not saying like these strictly straight transsexual. I'm talking about the people who, oh, I'm a boy today, girl tomorrow. I'm gonna wear a dress today with my beard, clean shaven, wearing a tuxedo. No, this is a fad. That's gonna go the way of bell bottoms and mullets and everything. I can't see that lasting a couple more years.
Yeah, not to get off topic, but I did see one of my mods, Pizzagate, and he was talking about something about Hareem and the Red Elephants are having a battle. I didn't really see exactly what he said. I don't know if he went into I don't know if he just went into some of the rumors that
Oh,
were told. Obviously, there's a lot of infighting going on in the movement
yeah,
because of the differences between Israel first and America first. Some people have a different definition of America first, and
yeah,
and so there was some fighting going on. Hareem's been blocking people. Well, yeah, I mean that's what Hareem does. So if you guys want, I can go over it really quick. Hareem he's a Trump supporter. He's an activist. He's one of my friends, and one of my other friends and also activist buddies, all Arthur Shopper.
yeah.
He went on a debate with James Alsop and Nicholas Fuentes. And after all that, Hareem, I'm just supposing he saw these things because he shared the Fuentes one, and he saw that, and he decided to do guilty by association. So he saw me and Vincent were there.
Oh,
I didn't say anything during both streams. I told Arthur my opinions on which side I took before the thing started, and that was because he asked. And the minute he had a chance, he decided to use that against us and call us biased, even though we never took a side. And then, so Arthur did all that, and they basically said we're guilty by association because the chat was mean to Arthur. He knew that
yeah,
going in that people weren't gonna 100% agree with him. And then Hareem, yeah, he just said we're all guilty by association. We went after Arthur, and we're all Semitic. We're
yeah,
anti-Semitic, anti-Semites. We hate Israel. We're pro Syria, pro Iran, pro
yeah.
Palestine kinds of stuff. And I literally said nothing both streams. We were being very unbiased. Um,
Yeah,
you know,
you're anti-Semitic if you don't bomb the other country, Israel. That's anti-Semitism. Go bomb. You have to bomb them. I'm like, oof, oof,
yeah.
oof.
So, and these people, the Trump supporters that believe this whole Israel first stuff, they're very small. They're mainly these boomer. They're mainly boomer Christians, the same people that fund APAC, things like that. They're very
Yeah,
small. I saw that the civic nationalists and the ethno nationalists basically were saying that they're both anti-war. So the entire
yeah,
right is anti-war. Tucker Carlson, Tommy
yeah,
Lauren. So you have the younger neocons. You have the civic nationalists
yeah,
like in Jack Posobiec, Mike Cernovich, Infowars. You have the Mike Enochs. You have the alt-right people saying they don't want war. So there's only like a small percentage of people that think,
yeah,
we're Judeo-Christian. We have to go and save Israel. That's the only democratic place in the Middle East. That's our hub. That's our ally. If they're our ally, we have to support them. We have to be loyal, kind of crap. And they're very small and they're very small. They from what I saw, they got shout out. There was a lot of people in the activist movement, like Robert Herrera, who I should bring him on this week. Robert Herrera, actually, Base Stick Man came out and said he didn't want to go to war for them. There was a lot of battling going on, but basically Harim is entirely Israel first.
That's big.
Yeah,
you should remind Harim before you go super hardcore on the Israel, maybe you should do research on the SSS Liberty.
Well, look, okay, so he actually responded to that. So he went on and said, okay, that did happen, but it was an accident, and actually Israel paid us a bunch of money in reparations or something like that. So that's what he said to defeat that. But to just sum it up real quick, so he agreed to debate Robert Herrera. So they were going to debate the Israel stuff, and he agreed to it. I saw the screenshot. And then next thing you know, I'm trying to message Harim so that we can do it. We're trying to schedule a day to do it, and then he wouldn't respond. He was completely ghosting me. And then he just randomly puts me, Vincent, and Robert, I think, or maybe it was me and Vincent. He put us in like a group text message, and then just kind of says like he doesn't want to do it, and he'll like debate us in person. Kind of like a real man, right? He'll debate us in person.
Okay, that's cool.
And I said, all right, well, I know there's an event coming up. There's an Omar event that I'll be at, and he said he was interested in going. So if he wants to show up, I'll be there. And you're my buddy, but if you get in my face, you'll turn into Antifa real quick. So, look, he's my friend. I have his back. But if you're going to get in my face and try to flex on me, I don't care who you are. I'll choke you out. It's that simple. Like, if I'll grab him and throw him at Herman Cain. Like, I don't really care,
Yeah, especially like when it comes to and that's another. I'm kind of done with the whole anon people. When I used to have a Twitter before I nuked it, when someone used to come up and say some stuff at me and be like, either a Paul Newman emoji, whatever, doesn't matter. I said it's like arguing with a ghost. You can think about obscene, hurtful things about me in the chat, and it's just digital words on screen. Not saying
sticks and stones, right? That's what I grew up with.
No. It's and especially to fight over two people who are not involved in actually making policy decisions, and they themselves are not even living in countries that have been affected by this. To argue like somehow it's this is how it's supposed to be done. No. This is like two ants arguing over who's going to eat the donut they're trying to share. When some guys think those eats that, so, you guys are ants. You guys, the big picture thing, the policy guys. I mean, you think Benjamin Netanyahu's going, oh man, I got to tune in to see this debate of Harim and Vincent and everything. But it may affect my policy decision. How I will topple Assad. No, you don't care. Benjamin Netanyahu don't even know who. So it going to affect him.
Yeah, that's true.
I just whenever I start hearing that's another thing. Some people I know is that are completely indifferent to the Israel question, which I think which I kind of find as a plus, and they're totally indifferent. It's better for you to be in the door, because then it gives us an opportunity to kind of give you some red pills in the whole how many dual national citizenships are in our federal government. You should wink, nod. Like how come it's so why is Israel such an important ally when we have almost no trade with them? What countries spending our own tax dollars to defend them when they're occupying another country that's completely agreed upon even by their own leaders back in like 1948 that this is a good territory, we're just going to stand on the corners and they're occupying it. I said, why? How is this really bad for us? We're spending all this money defending them, and we're not getting nothing in return. I always use the analogy of the movie Mad Max and the Dome. Remember when Mel Gibson was thrown in the dome? They had that guy Master, the one little short little person, and he had that Master, big oafy kind of, I'm suspecting he had some sort of a learning disability, but he was just a super jacked guy, but he wasn't all in there in the head. That little guy's Israel and America. We're like, Israel tells us to go smash something, and we go smash, like, yeah, smash something. We're going to blow it up. It's like, yeah, go blow something up over there. Yeah, we'll go blow it up there.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah, that's true. United States is the Hulk, and Israel is Bruce Banner. You know, that's true. That's a good analogy. Yeah, that's true. I would just say, and I think a lot of people, like young people, they just were like, "Well, okay, so we're allies with Israel, so why are we allies?" Because there's all this discussion on this hate, and they'll say, "Oh, well, that's the only place in the Middle East for democracy, and also if we have to go in to fight all these terrorists that are killing our people, that's the place that we send all our people." But from what I've heard, when it came down to all the fighting in the Middle East, from what I've heard, they haven't helped out at all. It's been mainly like the Australians and like the French and the British and people like that. So they're not helping with the fights. They're not, from what I've heard, we're not really getting anything other than some pharmaceuticals, is what Jacob Wool brought up. Yeah. He brought up pharmaceuticals, so we're not really making a lot of money off them. Even if we are, you have to weigh the pros and cons. You know, I'm not so into my wallet that I'm willing to like sacrifice. Oh, if I sacrifice my daughter, will I have like $5 more in my wallet? Okay, let's do it. Strength of the dollar, right? The economy. Like I don't care about the economy. Like I care about it, but not more than than the people, right? I'm not going to go cause a war to get out of anything. So I don't really see any pros. And also, just in this way, if you're friends with somebody and they're causing conflicts constantly, then like, look, like I'm friends with this guy, but I don't want to. Every time we go to this bar, this guy's always starting fights, and then I end up getting punched in the head a couple times. This always happens.
You know what I mean? You know, you're the one. He's the one starting drama some way, and then like you're gonna defend him, and you're the one that gets stuck with a knife. Yo, how do I get this?
Yeah, so I just don't see anything. I don't see. Look, if they like, I support. I mean, technically, being a Zionist means that you support the existence of Israel, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's like, look, yeah, I think everyone should have their own homeland. I think that's a good idea and all that. But if you want something, you have to have the ability to maintain it. So if you're just begging other people to help you 24/7, especially when you have nukes and they do not, I mean, it just sounds like you could wipe out all your enemies if you wanted to. So I would just say, look, we're isolationists. One of the people I look up to is George Washington, and he didn't want us to go into war with anybody. He didn't want us. If he was around, he wouldn't have wanted us to get into World War One, World War Two, any of that stuff. We sit back. Everyone else gets into drama, and we'll just sell to them, make a buck off of it. That's what we should be doing. We should go back to the way George Washington, the way he wanted the country to go. That's where we should move. No more of this stuff. Look, I'm not talking about bombing Israel or anything like that. I'm just saying, look, if you want your nation, you do what you got to do. Because if we're going to be allies, it can't be we're doing 90% of the work and you're only doing 10 or 5 or whatever it is. So it's got to be fair. It's got to be equivalent exchange. And that's how allies work. It's got to be at least 50-50. And I'm not seeing that. So I wouldn't be against, not, or, being like low key allies, but not this whole, if they get bombed, we got to send soldiers in. That's not our problem. And by that argument, we might as well just drop bombs on every other Middle Eastern country so that Israel can just take them over or whatever. Because at that point, every single Muslim place around them is going to want to kill them, right? And it's never going to stop. Even if you get rid of Syria, you get rid of Assad, you're just going to create another problem. So the only way you could really full on protect them would be to probably genocide everyone else that's around them. And no one's going to advocate or want that. But we do have Dirty Mongrel wanted to come in. I don't know what he wants to talk about. I do know he's pretty edgy, so we'll see how long we keep him in here.
One side note about the thing is that I noticed that the virtue signaling for the Israel state is kind of creepy because I was looking through Twitter one day. I saw when they opened up the embassy in Jerusalem. I guess who flew out to Jerusalem just so they could be there for the commencement opening ceremony was Charlie Kirk, Mr. No Identity Politics, turned on USA name and came to sell him with an Israeli flag shirt. I mean, I was like, oh, that's funny. No identity politics, but you recognize Israel as the Israeli people for the ethnic identity.
Well, did you watch that Lauren Southern video?
Yeah, I saw that. That was nice.
I mean, it's true, and all of the non-white right wingers, I not all of them, but I've talked to quite a bit of them, and I see them talk. I see this one Trump supporter I know who's black, and they talk a lot about white privilege. They show a lot of the videos of black people being killed. The only difference is they have like they care about their people first, and everyone else second. The only difference between the right wing ones and the left wing ones, from what I've seen so far, is that they have difference in strategy for the black community. They both want what's best for them. It's just a difference in strategy, and you can kind of say that for probably everybody, because the only group that I've ever seen that seems to be anti themselves are Europeans or white people. The rest, and I live in a very multicultural area, they tend to always be in packs. You see them all together all the time. You don't really see. I see like, oh, there's a white. Like, first of all, there's not a lot of white people where I'm from. And when you do see one, they're always by themselves somewhere. They're never I've never ever seen like 5 white people together or anything like that.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
So what do you want to talk about? Dirty Mongrel.
Sounds like Derek Kevin, man.
It's me, Dirk Kevin. How's it going?
Oh, what's up,
Kevin.
man?
Hey.
Derek Kevin.
It's funny because in the other room, I was actually.
Oh. What happened? He just went in the other one. Okay, let me pull him back.
Oh, sorry, I accidentally misclicked and oh, hey, how's it going?
Yeah,
All right.
Did you guys? Yeah, I accidentally clicked in the wrong room.
Jeez.
I was gonna say I was just having this argument with a guy in there, MK Ultra.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's sort of, basically from what I could take away from it, he's sort of this neocon. He was talking about how he's in favor of like H-1B visas for like these high-skilled Ethiopians to come in.
Should I pull him in here so we can continue that argument?
Sure, get him in here.
All right.
A lot of his points were like vaguely neocon, maybe slightly to the right of neocons, but he's still rooted in neoconism.
Okay, let me pull him over. Oh, sorry, MK. I pulled you over. Oh, okay. Did he just leave? Did he leave?
I don't know if he left or what.
Yeah, that whole H-1B, because so many times I've gotten to discussions where, well, we need these entrepreneurs. I said, well, are you going to an outside country to just pick someone out for that particular position? I said, you're actually working against the market. In order for these kids to go to college and recognize that there's a certain trade, a certain study, there has to be a market demand. The fact that you're actually just picking someone right out of the country, you're actually diluting the need for a market response within our own domestic. I mean, like why if I'm going to study IT, why would I want to go 4 years of college for studying IT if Ahmed or someone from India can just pick right on each one will be one and just put right in that position?
Yeah. He was sort of basically was making the argument that black people they can be red pilled. I disagree with that. Like you're never going to get any substantial amount of black people. As soon as they see Barack Obama on the ballot, they're going to vote like 95% for him because he's black. It's tribalism. It's simple. It's instinctual, and that's what's going to win out at the end of the day. You're never going to convince them to vote for freedom or the Constitution. They don't care about that. Part of it's the IQ thing.
I think what it is people, since all of human time, people have combined, race and nationality, right? And if you're like, let's say if you're Chinese and you're from China, that also might mean you might be like a communist, right? And so they put these like race and culture and values are interconnected. So if they see a Hispanic guy running in Texas and there's a lot of Hispanics there, they'll say, oh, he's Hispanic, from the mindset of, oh, because he's Hispanic, he has led the same sort of life and he'll most likely have the same values, same culture. So therefore I should vote for this guy because he's on my team. Now, of course, they can get rid of you if they find out that you're a right-wing Hispanic. Then all of a sudden they're like, oh, he's not our guy. Like, he's not one of us anymore, because based off not really his race, but based off like his values shown in his politics. So they can kick you out. I would also say that for blacks, obviously blacks can be red-pilled, but like you were getting to, we haven't seen in a huge amount. Like, I don't know if we'll ever get like 80% of the blacks voting for Republicans ever. Maybe if we try really hard, if we dump millions and millions of dollars, if we have Kanye doing everything, if we really shill red pill black out there, maybe we might get 20%. We might go from 10 to 20, maybe from 20 to 25 if we try really, really hard. But I haven't heard any strategies, because the Republican Party has been trying to red pill blacks probably for decades, if not 100 years. So they've been trying really hard, and ever since the Democrats were like, "Hey, we're gonna give you free stuff," the New Deal, right? Ever since then, it's been blacks were like, "Hey, we don't like the KKK, but we're gonna join the party of the KKK if we get free stuff." So if they're willing to do that, I don't think that they'll ever come over to the right, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and another thing that when you hear about talking points, so this and other, when you talk, by them acknowledging that certain ethnic groups in America vote as almost their ethnic bloc votes in a bloc, almost we're talking 70% plus, 80% plus, and with African Americans 90%, 95%. I can't tell you how many times the whole talking point on the African American community will, under Barack Obama, they voted 95%. If we get them to vote at only 85%, that's a victory for us. I said, how is that a victory? I said, if you apply that logic, if my son, he says, Daddy, I did great on my test. He said, I got only 5% right. I said, 5% right, you're a fucking idiot. Bam. And he goes, go take the test again. He goes like, oh, good. Good. Look, I took the test again. I did great. I said, how did you do great? Look, I got a 15% now. I said, 15%? Yeah, you improved, but you still failed. You're an idiot. You still fail. I mean, that's not the majority.
Yep. That's the whole point. In like by 2040, once we're less than 50% of the voting bloc, we are not going to have any ability to win elections, and that's a huge thing.
No. This moment is going to happen much sooner than 2040. When Texas is going to go blue within the next 4 to 8 to 10 years, and we're going to lose control of the Electoral College, and we're going to lose control of all of national politics very shortly immediately following. We don't have until 2040. This is a cartoonish proposition. We have maybe 4 to 8 years.
Ooh.
And basically, MK Ultra, who's sort of arguing for these neocon ideas, I was having a debate with him earlier. He was saying, maybe we've got 10 years to sort of turn this around. Then eventually, when our generation is the age that the president has to be to get elected, one of us will get elected, and we'll sort of turn things around. I'm like, no, you don't have that much time.
Oh dear.
Yeah, he's basically, from what I can tell, he's sort of a semi-neocon, this MK Ultra guy. I don't know. I'd like to have him in here because I don't feel good just talking behind his back like this.
I try to pull him over. So if he's willing to come over, if someone could tag him and say, "Hey, you want to?" Because I don't know if he left. I don't know if he pressed the button. I don't know what happened. So if someone tags him and he says he'll come on, I'll bring him. But also to the chat, we have Gregory on. So if you guys love Gregory Malchuk, press 1. Show him some love.
Hey.
He's not feeling good, but he's still here.
Remember, child circumcision is child rape. Remember that. I always say that.
Circumcision is child rape.
Yeah.
Oh, MK Ultra says he wants to be dragged on.
All right, so I guess we'll do this. I'm just gonna sit back. So if Gregory, if Kevin, if you guys want to throw the oh, he's still there. Okay, if you guys want to throw punches, I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy the show then.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, here we go.
I'm rubbing my hands.
All right, MK Ultra, you are on with us. I heard that there was some sort of discrepancy you guys had on some sort of topic. So if you guys want to continue the debate you were having in the waiting room, you guys are free to do so.
Yeah, I was going to say, Dirt Kevin, are you good with me kind of setting up my premise and going first, if that's okay with you?
Yeah, you go ahead, and I'll
because I feel like in a respectful debate, if you're gonna, you know what I'm saying, like, since your whole point is to counter my topics, it might be better if I just lay it out first. That way you can hammer it away.
Sure, yeah.
All right. So my argument stance is not from it comes from basically I personally believe that I'm trying to think of how to rephrase this again. I think that in the next coming couple years, the policies that are realistic that we have to implement to even be able to get right-wing policies and Republican-based policies on point are going to have to be implemented in small measures such as immigration, because there's no way, as much as we all want this utopian society, that you can immediately enforce these policies, get the votes and numbers with the current demographics, the current way things are. If people want to go ahead and you want to, like, we were arguing about switching the black community vote to Republican. And part of me is torn on that, because you look at the birth rates and death rates of places such as, or like you look in the black community and look at what Planned Parenthood's doing. The birth rate is lower than the death rate. So what that means is that black people are having more abortions than having births. So they're slowly dying. Then mix in, they kill each other out. My thing is if they've already won the culture war, that what's true, that the birth over death rate,
the birth rate among the black
abortions don't count as the death rate.
Then let's put it this way: they're having more abortions than they're having births in their community. Would that be a fair statement?
Well, are there
but
births?
You made it sound like their deaths are outstripping births, and I don't think that's true in the black community.
It's not.
Okay, if you look at even their just killings of each other,
they have population growth. They have more than whites.
Yeah, they're growing at a more exponential rate than whites, and also this whole thing about they're murdering each other faster than they're being born. I mean, like 500 deaths in Chicago every year. That's not like making a dent in their birth rate.
No, but mix it other factors.
Continue setting up your premise. Sorry.
No. Go for it. Feel free to fact check me if I don't have my shit right. I'm not going to get mad at you.
I don't know what we're arguing about yet. So.
Because because my stance is if they're going to kill each other out, and like if that's the statistics I've read and looked at, then if they are going to kill each other off, then it's like, why not push for things like Planned Parenthood anyways, which are just going to go ahead and escalate that situation. Or we were talking about in my case, like I was like, or the other option is you can red pill black people by, like my typical stance was ask them who they voted for. I usually get the Hillary response. And then I turn around and go, all right, well, do you know who Hillary's mentor is? I get a no for that typically. Show that he was one of the leaders of the Ku Klux Klan. In fact, like a grand wizard. I think Byrd was his last name, Senator Byrd. And like, you can go on YouTube and watch her talk about his passing, about how it was like, he was such a big impact on her life. I've gotten a couple people to never vote Democrat again, just based on that. And the other thing that I've done to get people not to vote Democrat is kind of just pull up, different policies that have been implemented, different statistics on gun crimes, such as Chicago, where, it's basically completely illegal to own a handgun and a firearm, and yet there's still God knows how many floating around. So gun control obviously isn't the solution. There are a lot of policies that we're implementing in America, in my opinion, that are bullshit, that are on the left, that hurt the black community. If we want the Republican right-wing vote, we want to get the policies in place. We almost have to an extent, look at them as the left has already put them on a pedestal for a culture war. And unfortunately, we have to at some point, or at least currently, the way things are, until something progressively changes for the better. We almost have to use people like Kanye as the base black guy to kind of sit there and win the additional votes. And I don't like it. I don't think it's a perfect tactic, but I don't think I've ever heard of a perfect policy or another tactic to get people to vote and stop voting Democrat. They've done a lot to get people to stop voting Republican, but I don't think that there's been a lot of people that have done anything to stop people voting Democrat. And that's kind of part of my concern. And Kevin, you had mentioned earlier, like my view on Israel. I don't think we should be involved with Israel, Saudi Arabia, anyone. And you had brought up a very good point of, we had fought a lot of their wars for Israel, not necessarily Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And I don't think we should be involved with any foreign wars, any foreign policy. I think our geopolitics is completely fucked. I think that we have a lot of people that are bought and paid for. And I think I brought this up last time I was on. If we have, I think a way to show who's bought and paid for and how would be much like on YouTube, how they have to say like Russia Today is funded in part or by whole by the Russian government. If we start putting when you have a politician next to the ballot box, have a list of companies that have contributed money to their campaign. I think that will help open up the JQ question a lot bigger because we can trace shell companies. We can see other corporations that way. It's not that hard of research to do. And I think that opens up a lot more doors for policies that change. But I think right now we are very limited on our options the way the culture war has been.
Yeah. Well, earlier you were sort of making out the argument that you were torn between Saudi Arabia and Israel being like the biggest problem we have in terms of foreign aid. I was trying to argue that Israel was much worse. We've gone to wars for them. We send them far more foreign aid than we do to Saudi Arabia. They're completely destabilizing the Middle East. And they're the ones who have so much influence over our foreign policy, not Saudi Arabia. There are so many Israeli dual citizens in our government, and there's like no Saudi Arabian ones. So I thought that's basically what our debate was about earlier in terms of Israel.
Say opinions, David?
I mean, Gregory, do you have something to say?
Well, I still don't. Okay, so we've boiled it down to the use of Kanye as a political tool. And what else?
Yeah.
I love you, Craig.
Whether it's the Saudis or the Israelis that control U.S. foreign policy.
Honestly, it was kind of confusing to me. I don't really understand.
I still don't know what.
Yeah, we talked for like 30 minutes.
Distill this down. Condense what your beef with each other is.
I don't really know if I have a beef with Kevin. I'm just, you know what I'm saying? Like, I guess, Kevin, you want to explain that and go for what?
I'll explain myself. I heard a lot of the things you were advocating for, like this argument about Hillary Clinton's mentor being the grand wizard of the KKK. It's basically the Dems are the real racist argument.
RRR.
Yeah. And
I don't. That's the thing is, I don't believe the Democrats, quote unquote, are the real racists. I just think it's a good tool to get people to not vote Democrat, to just toss that out there, since they're always going to pick. But somebody's going to be the racist. Somebody's got to be the victim. Somebody's got to be the villain.
Do you think
why not turn their attention otherwise?
Do you think it's hypocritical to use identity politics, even though the right advocates against it constantly?
I'm torn because it's like part of me says I don't want to, and Jordan Peterson has the way to win is to not play by their rules. I think that culturally, social media wise, they have so much.
Have you cleaned up your room, by the way, MK?
I have. You know what? I did, and then it got dirty again because I'm doing laundry. So I'm actually doing stuff.
Anytime someone brings up Peterson, I have to check on their room. I have to.
There's no sheets on the bed because they're drying, so that's a start.
All right.
It's weird. I like part of me wants to believe that whole don't play their game. That's the only way to win. But to be honest, the only way to win is to use their own. And that's the thing is when it comes down to any type of warfare, it doesn't matter where you're at. It doesn't matter who you are. Everyone justifies themselves on any side of any war and any conflict as the good guy. There's always that bullshit morality play. unfortunately, at the end of the day, like we have to use the warfare tactics they're using. They have set the tone, they have set the standard and set the pace, in my opinion. And I don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair. But if they are going to push these identitarian politics, then I think that there should be no reason that we don't have white identity politics as well. And I think if they keep wanting to push this political ideology, there's plenty of movies that I could edit together. In fact, I'll have to edit together like a 10-minute clip at some point of just constantly like movies that are like, oh, black power, but also white people should get white power. Like I can find like 10 movies off the top of my head that were made by all black people that have that.
Yeah.
So this whole identitarian politics thing, if they want to live in a truly quote unquote equal society, if you're going to have black power, you have to have white, and you have to have fucking Hispanic, and you have to have every other group as well. To exclude the whites is racism, and using the term reverse racism is asinine, because the opposite of racism is not racism.
Can I stop you?
Go ahead.
Sometimes you sort of get a bit long-winded, but this is, I mean, I don't really have a problem with your sort of the things you're saying, but a lot of your like worldviews are sort of rooted in this neocon idea that, oh, it's not fair. We can't succumb to identity politics. That is what we've been doing for all of human history, is organizing nations around our races. It's not that it's not fair. It's that it's natural. It's our instincts to do that. I don't agree that we have to strive for this utopian, egalitarian society like you seem to sometimes suggest when you. I mean, I'm kind of confused because you argue for a lot of different things.
I think we can all have our own space. I think that we can all have our own land, and we can all do what we need to, and we can respect each other. But I don't think that there are certain cultures that will intermingle with ours. And I personally haven't drawn all of my lines on which cultures are what. There are certain ones, such as Islam, that I'm not comfortable with.
What about races? Do you think there's certain races that will never really into Western civilization properly?
You know, that's tricky. Basing it on race alone, in my opinion, I say no. If you base it on culture, which I think has a greater impact, there are definitely cultures that will never collide.
Well,
culture. But on race, I can't necessarily give a
what are you?
Yes.
Like, what are you politically?
Yeah.
I guess a Republican. I guess like right. Right, like you know what I'm saying. Like I'm still trying to put my finger on the exact part, but every time I take the test, it's like you tells me I'm basically a Nazi, and I'm like, I mean, kind of, but not really.
I mean, sometimes you say some like based racist things, but then you also sort of advocate for neocon political ideas. It's kind of weird.
I think that we can have our country as it was meant to be founded, as our forefathers meant, which was supposed to be a white country, which was supposed to be a Christian country. But I think that, you know, the way that we've enveloped ourselves with policies, our new immigration policies after 1965, I think those fucked us. I think those did a lot of damage, and I think that unfortunately the only way to undo that isn't by a quick turnover of the system. We're going to have to do it in incremental steps, like it or not. And I feel like that's the only way to truly.
Well, we don't. I can tell you, we don't have 30 years to do it.
Yeah.
So can I just say that basically it sounds like you have like, oh, well, in this situation, I would advocate for this, but because we're not in that situation, or I don't realistically think that will happen, I'm going to advocate for this. Like typically in a perfect world, you'd probably be against identity politics, but because of the situation we're in, you're saying it's smart to use identity politics because obviously it works. Look at the left, it works very well. So we should use it against them if we want to, if we want to win this war. So it might be hypocritical, but it's okay. Go ahead.
If my enemy has a trebuchet, then I'm using a trebuchet. That's my stance.
Why is it a trebuchet to base our societies around race, like we've always done things in every civilization in human history? Why is that a bad thing at all?
I don't think that that's a bad thing at all. I've never thought that was a bad thing. I think that basing it.
What about advocating for your own racist policies above other racist policies? Like if you guys are existing in the same civilization.
I've always believed that like my forefathers, the Washingtons, did found this country predominantly for white people. So our rights should be predominantly thinking about who this country was founded for, which is the whites. We allow and have allowed graciously, very fucking graciously, other people to come in after we fought, sweat, and blood for this fucking. And I think if they want to come here, then you know what? Like, let them come here. But if they're not going to fucking integrate, if they're not going to do any of the shit they need to be a part of society, except American culture, I think that if somebody wants to come here, as long as it's not from some fucking shithole third world country where like Europe. The culture is complete.
Europe.
I mean Europe or any place with predominantly white people or white culture or Western culture as a whole.
But it's like the threshold just keeps getting lower as you run at the mouth there.
You said earlier, for example, you said earlier something about you'd be in favor of Ethiopians coming here if they were high skilled. Because
my stance was if immigration policy is something that we have to accept, if that's the reality we're in, is we cannot stop immigration.
You don't have to accept anything. This is like, I don't even know how you live within this paradigm. If you feel like you can't change anything, then just sit in your living room and cover yourself in potato chip crumbs and tune out.
I feel like we can change things. I feel like it's going to take time. I don't think it's an overnight process. I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day.
What about a revolution as opposed to reform from within?
Oof. Revolutionary talk.
That worries me a bit because I think that that will subdivide into chaos, and then we'll be almost right back to where we were before we had.
I wish that was the case. The idea that there's going to be revolution it's a LARP. There's too much fat on the hog. It's not for the foreseeable future, for decades into the future, even after, total minority, arguably even after total minority status is achieved past the 2040s. There's going to be too much fat on the hog. It's just not going to happen. It's a LARP.
Yeah, we're too fat and lazy as a society to go out and start going.
Well, yeah, most people can't even get into the military because of how disgusting they are, right?
Yeah.
Wait, are you serious? Like, we actually can't, like, people can't get into the fucking military now?
Yeah, they can't pass the physical exams. They can't run a mile. They can't run the obstacle course in the time it takes them to do it. I mean, crazy.
I was actually in the military, so yeah, there's like weight requirements just to get in.
Yeah.
I mean, at least when I went in, we didn't have to do any sort of obstacle course to get in.
Well, we're getting sidetracked here.
Get in.
This is not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're talking about
because a woman joined the chat. Why?
Yeah, but hold on. What would be more pragmatic? Would it be to revolt against the system, or would it be to wait 40 years, try to do little incremental steps where we're never going to get anywhere? I mean, it's going to devolve.
Well, To be honest, I don't know the answer, but I would love to find one, and once there's an answer, fall down the path.
Go ahead, Gregory.
What I am proposing is mass community organizing, mass mobilization of youth, the takeover of the local and state GOP apparatus by flooding it with your people and taking over the PCO, precinct county officer and delegate officer positions. I know somebody on the West Coast who did exactly this back during the Ron Paul campaign. We almost need an entire episode dedicated to this, and I don't have the strength to go into all this tonight.
Yeah.
But it is as far as I'm concerned, it's the only path forward.
Okay, so how would one implement it in states such as Texas, where I live? And how long does it take to be effective would kind of be my question. Because it's like, I want a solution. And so far, I see a bunch of problems that lead to more problems later on. And I haven't found one that I feel is a solution. So if someone has one, I'm happy to back it.
It starts with the premise that the GOP apparatus is full of trash, and it selects terrible candidates that are essentially against any kind of nationalist narrative. And we're seeing this with the Patrick Little campaign, where the state apparatus is able to sideline candidates that they don't like. I mean, you can generalize this to anybody. It means that pretty much nobody to the right of Steve King could ever get elected, and it's arguable that if Steve King was Steve King running for the first time, he himself probably couldn't get elected.
Wow.
So you have to take these organizations over, and you need cannon fodder in order to do it.
Well, I'm taking over YouTube right now, just so you guys know. I'm in the
Hell
process.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Hell yeah.
Is there, Gregory? Is there a way to, in your opinion, infiltrate these organizations and then, from the inside of their organizations, attempt to dismantle them, or do we have to run at them head on?
Well, you would say, okay, you need human cannon fodder, but in order to do that, you need to be organizing among the youth, right? I like the idea of organizing the high school youth because of the social networks that are already in place where everybody knows each other. You can mobilize huge elements of, the under 18 or the 18 and under demographic almost overnight. It's why I think, college campus organizing is actually quite difficult because everybody's totally atomized. People are actually quite afraid to talk about big issues in politics on campus.
Yeah.
Do you think it's just because of the ostracizing of social media and also being older and having lived through times where we don't have the tech available to us today? Do you think even 20 or 30 years ago, or even like when you were our age, do you think that the ostracization of people on campus of wanting to talk about these things would happen on the scale that it is?
It's just the nature of leaving a place leaving high school where you knew everybody since kindergarten versus going to college where nobody actually knows each other.
You're saying it's if you can red pill one person, then because he knows each other, he could red pill the rest easier?
Yes. You can't network on college campuses in the same way that you can among high school people. It doesn't work. And I know people think, colleges are this big hotbed. They're actually not. Certainly not for right-wing organized.
Definitely. And college kids are far more indoctrinated than high school kids are. So high school kids are sort of still they're still able to be molded to your ideas much more easily than the college kids who are already basically communists.
Mhm.
All right, to interject real quick, we had the super chat that was asking for analytical chicks MOS.
74 golf.
Oh,
good timing because I just came back in the room.
Oh, okay. I guess they were trying to question whether you were real or not after you said that you were in the military.
Yeah, they actually phased it out. I was in the very last class of 74 golf. They phased it out to 74 Bravo for that, and I think it's been renamed at least one more time, possibly more than once.
Cool stuff.
You see, though, how you're sort of like a problem with modern women, that they want to be in the military. They want to do all the men's jobs. You're not really fulfilling your traditional role as a woman.
No, I didn't really want to be in the military. I just couldn't pay my bills, and a recruiter called my house, and I went, "Hey, this will pay my bills."
Hang on, you're telling me you signed all the documentation, went through boot camp, you did all that shit, and you're like, I'm still kind of iffy on this. I kind of don't want to do this right now. Gets first year service done. I should have quit at boot camp. Like, that never crossed your mind?
I'm saying my motivation for joining was not to do a man's job. My motivation for joining was...
Did you go to the kitchen and you made all those soldier sandwiches? What a hero!
My motivation for joining was that I needed some sort of job that was going to pay the bills, and I hadn't been able to find one. And then a recruiter called my house, and I thought, hey, this is a way to, go back to school. This is a way to make money as being in the military. This is a way to get trained, to have a
Yeah, you're gonna get trained real good in the military. They're gonna run a real nice train on you.
How are the oral exams?
Did you have to do any oral exams?
Real oral exams, not what you're alluding to with your dirty
I did hear though.
Did you clean? I gotta ask. How many times did the CO ask you to clean his gun and polish the helmet?
So when I said we had oral exams, I'll actually explain that. Because
Go into detail.
You can't talk with your mouth full, so you can't explain it.
Can you say it a bit slower?
Called basic electronics training. So, like, the oral portions of our exams were the sergeant would mess up a board and we would have to use a multimeter to find out what he had done with it. Like, he would unplug something, or he would put a bad resistor in, or he would take out, like, a resistor or something that needed to be there.
So what's resistor code words for?
Words for anything, you dirty perv.
That's when she doesn't quite consent, but you gotta, you gotta coax. You gotta
take it out, pull it back in, plug it in, turn it on.
No.
This is sort of, we've gone off in a new direction.
All right, so
yes. Well, anyway,
I have a question.
That's Alphonse's fault.
Hold on.
Somebody is saying that I sound like Hamas, talking about organizing the under-18s and cannon fodder. What I mean by cannon fodder...
Anyway, was it dirty mongrel?
First of all, I don't consider that to be much of an insult, but I will also say, when I say cannon fodder, I need... If you're going to take over a Republican office, you need people to run for PCOs. These are elected positions within the Republican Party, within your county Republican Party. And this is the beginning stage of how you start taking over a state's GOP apparatus, but you need people to do that. So that's what I was talking about.
Well, we were actually having a constructive conversation about politics and this voice chat until this woman joined the voice chat.
Oh yeah, I mean, exactly. It's sort of I noticed that as well. Things sort of just completely derailed when the woman joined. It's almost like they shouldn't be in our movement at all.
Should we have the chat? Should we have them do some democratic things to see if they want her to stay or not?
Sure.
Yeah,
press 1 if you want to be. Press 1 if you want to be data. Okay,
press 911 if you think the Jew should shut her mouth.
Most of the time, I wasn't even in the room.
Listen,
I don't have any disrespect. Was there a particular reason she came on? You wanted to come on?
She came on so she could be a coy little flirt with all us boys.
Well, did you have any specific questions for anyone, Analytical Chick?
Ask me a question.
Well, originally when I got in the waiting room, there was something I wanted to talk about, but by the time I got from the waiting room to on air, the subject had changed quite a few times. So
can I question you about the Talmud?
Subject. I try to
wait a second.
Going and then stay on topic with what's going on.
Well, what's your thoughts on circumcision? Are you pro it or against it?
Take a stance on that one.
She tries not to step on foreskins.
Yeah, I don't have to make that decision right now, and I don't really expect to have kids, so I don't really have to make that decision for myself, probably.
Yes, I try to stay neutral on FGM, too. I want parents to be able to make the choice to cut off their daughter's clitoris.
Well, say you did, theoretically, if you did have to make that decision, what decision would you make?
I mean, you're Jewish, right? So wouldn't you be for it?
You don't have to make this, quote, decision. It's a false choice that's presented by these child rapist doctors.
Yeah, you have to, I mean, imagine if it was like a decision whether you had to murder your whole family or not. It's not a decision to any normal person. This is obviously barbaric. Nobody who's like got, it's basically just religious sacrifice. You're sacrificing a part of the baby's penis. Oh, Nicker thought Gross, a good boy in here. He asks a question for the woman in here. She says that. Yeah, are you pro-choice?
I am mildly pro-choice, which people are.
Well, why are you pro-choice?
Conservative/libertarian.
I love those libertarians.
I'm not. My stance. I'm not really pro or against choice. But I think the field of eugenics should be explored.
But why are you?
All
why
I
are you
heard was
pro-choice?
eugenics.
Can I hear why you're pro-choice? Like, what's your reasoning behind it?
Well, I'm not pro or
I mean-
nor am I against, but I do think the concept of eugenics should be discussed and explored as a legitimate
No.
concept.
I get that point, but I mean, why analytical Nicker is pro-choice?
That it's more complicated than people make it. I mean, the left, makes it out to be my body, my choice. Well, no, it's not your body. It's a body inside your body. And the right, a baby doesn't essentially live like rent-free inside a mother's body, taxing her for 9 months straight. So I think that it's complicated, especially when you take into account cases like women who, or that sort of thing.
I mean, but how do women get raped? It's by being careless, isn't it? Don't they go to parties and get drunk and then they get raped?
Many of them, and
I do
Bill
find
Cosby's
it
a great
fascinating
example.
that we have to use statistical outliers to try to talk about this rather than
Yeah, as
the
well.
bulk of
That's
it,
also
which is
another point. Rape is like less than 1%
convenience.
of abortions.
And can I add something here? Gregory was on a very interesting point about how to take over local GOPs to elected positions within the party. And the minute a woman joins the chat, now we're talking Bush.
No. The minute a Jew joined the chat.
It's not because she's Jewish, you retard. It's because she's a woman.
It's because she's a Jewish woman. We
Because I'm a
both win.
woman.
No one
It's
knew she was
because
Jewish until you
Rosa-
told us.
AKA Nicker thought chicken
Listen.
shit to get on the stream himself.
Oh yeah, Rosa's a
listen,
bitch.
One of the guys in the chat and asked him to ask. And by the way, I think the white elephants should make people super chat if they want to ask questions.
You know what I think you should read us. Can you read us lines from the Can you read us lines from the Kychronomicon analytical Nicker?
We're getting off topic. I think MK Ultra is kind of orbiting this girl. He's kind of throwing us off.
You guys have a little bit of
I'm becoming the new.
Quick,
because
I am the new Zeus.
Food that I'm cooking.
Listen, MK Ultra's orbiting her. She's screeching about, "Oh, I'm a Jew."
Can we bring this back down to earth here? Either talking about
I do want to hear how to take over.
or at least abortion.
I want to hear actually how to take over the Texas political system and get that to how to install a Republican Party in there, because I think that as many people are moving and it's going to turn blue, we all know it. I want to keep my state red, and I don't want to fucking.
Well, I don't know if you're listening. The first thing that has to be done, pretty much regardless, is taking over the Republican Party itself. Nothing I have said is technically an election, or for a government position. This is a prelude to making sure we have winnable candidates and a Republican Party that won't machine gun us in the back when we try to run somebody.
Yeah.
Is it plausible to even run independent, or do you think that that's just we should knock that off the table?
No.
That's a
dead end. Party infrastructure. This is why it's important. When you have the party infrastructure, you have calling list, mailing list, donors. You have what they call the dumb money, which is like the dumb donor money that you get pretty much regardless, that the party can hand out to candidates and PACs at will. It's a non-starter thinking you're going to go third party. I believe. I mean, why would you do that when you have a beautiful, luscious, delicious meal that you can invade and colonize and infect rather than starting from scratch?
I mean, I was just curious at how hard which one would be the most hard. You know what I'm saying? I didn't consider all the additional funds and everything like that either.
We kind of like jumped back an hour to what we were talking about an hour ago. I thought we got into the abortion argument, or we were about to get into it, but
don't talk about women's issues. We're here to talk about legitimate topics here. Women issues. That is a joke. I mean, we're
women's quote unquote
you're
women's issues.
Yeah, we're wasting Gregory's time here. He does have some good ideas about organizing. I myself talk to some of the young kids. I mean, there is a viable strategy when it comes to
Listen. Are Dirty Mongrel? Are you the one who's like opposed to us, like people on the right, like thing here? It seems like you're now challenging like him on his ideas that seem more effective than even mine.
Who's talking? Wait, what? What are you talking about?
Are you sure I'm the neocon here? Because you seem to oppose to his ideas, and they seem like they may work better than mine.
What ideas are those?
Gregory was literally just explaining those.
I mean, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about.
Are you talking about Balboa?
My community organizing ideas.
I agree with Gregory. Me and Gregory are close friends, and we agree on most things.
I'm giving you shit for calling me a neocon.
Yeah.
You are a neocon. You basically you're rooted in a civic nationalist mindset that blacks can integrate. And you say some like base things, but then you go right back to talking about how it's all culture and none of it's race. Race is just skin deep, and they can integrate if they didn't have this barbaric Islamic culture that they can't fit into Western values. And part of it's that they have a fucking like 70 IQ, and they can't into like a sophisticated customs and cultures that the West has. But other parts of it is that it's always going to be a tribal business. There's never going to be anything that's more powerful than race. It's always going to come down to race, and you don't seem to get that.
Yeah, we're getting a bell curve territory.
See, I know it's going to come down to race. I don't want it. Let's put it this way. I'm trying to be too idealistic and too wishing for the best. I realize,
retarded.
like, in all reality, it's probably, like, yeah, all going to come down to race. But it's, like, I don't know. Part of me is still, like, I hope people will do the best. Like, I hope people will be better people. But no, there's a lot of data that says you're right.
What's this hope for this idealism? Like, what is anybody doing? Is anybody doing anything?
It's one of those things where it's like I try to like I do a lot of business as a DJ with different clubs. Some club owners are shady, some are not. Some will just hand you cash up front to DJ. Some will try to just dick you around all night and not pay. So based on just that example right there, I try to, every time I do business with somebody or every individual I meet, I try to base it off an individual basis. However, I know that I can recognize like that one kid who looks like every other fucking scene kid on the dance floor is going to act, walk, talk, and do all the same shit, no matter what city I go to all across this country. I know people fit in stereotypes, and stereotypes exist for a reason, but it's like part of me wants to try to still believe people are individuals. You know what I'm saying? Even though it's I
have no idea what just happened in the past 20 seconds. We're using the DJ dance scene as a proxy for politics now.
Listen. I'm using it as a basis of how I judge people on an individual basis.
Simple here. What are you doing in your real life to do anything? Are you doing community organizing? Are you infiltrating the Republican Party? Are you working even on a Republican campaign? I also want to use young people to throw them into the. I mean, we're in the middle of the midterm elections here.
Yeah.
The primaries are basically wrapping up and are about to go into general. They need volunteers. That's another good way to get involved. And if the cream tends to rise, good help is hard to find. So if you're a good campaign manager, I mean, you could, even if you're a young guy, if you're enthusiastic over there, they will see that, and you may get the ear of some of these representatives. I don't know.
I could testament to what Gregory Malchuk's saying that. I was lucky enough to volunteer for a Republican group in my local county, and I was able to meet a representative who's running for Congress. Hope my mic didn't cut. But I was actually able to meet a person who's actually nominated for a ticket, who's running in the general for my congressional district, and I met her.
Speak closer into your microphone. You sound very distant.
Okay.
I noticed that as well.
Okay. Yeah, I say Gregory is on the point. I'm actually volunteering in my county, and I actually was able to meet my actual Republican representative who just won primary, and she's running in the general against the Democrat. or actual our congressional seats. So it is true. You can meet these actual representatives. These people. One day will either be a senator or a congressman, and they'll be sitting there at a meeting, and you might be sitting 5 feet away from them, and you can actually have a conversation, talk about stuff. Yeah.
Just so you guys know, the guy in the chat who's always talking shit, our based leftist is in the Discord, so hopefully he'll figure out how to get on the on air, so I could pull him over, and we can actually get a different take for once in a while. But until then, does anyone have any questions for Gregory?
Yeah, okay, so all right, let's put it this way. I'm somebody that like the reason I chose DJing is because I like music, like to work with my hands. When I was younger, like did a bunch of construction, still like I wouldn't mind going out and campaigning. I wouldn't mind going out and doing hard work like that or helping. The question is like how if somebody has like a record, like, isn't that going to hurt if people try to dox? You know what I'm saying? Like, isn't that going to hurt? My hesitancy to
what does that
to go
mean?
out and
You don't have to be public about this. Indeed, the takeover of the GOP in particular will probably be very surreptitious indeed. I mean, it'll just be you and a bunch of your young friends showing up one day and saying, "Hello, how can I get involved at the county Republican's office?" And the next couple meetings, you all ask for the papers and the filing fee form to run for PCOs. You don't have to be completely out. Although, if you're going to be doing this, I would recommend that you maintain a private club, a clandestine club where you meet and think tank about about what you're doing and strategize and continue the political education of your members. No, I mean, there really doesn't need to be any doxable, interesting information out there because you're organizing outside of the GOP and then invading it. You're organizing in the shadows, under the cover of darkness.
Sounds like some Batman politics.
Well, got to do what you got to do.
All right, well, it seems like we have an opportunity, so I'll pull over John Lindsay, who seems to be... I'd
like to say one other...
Go ahead.
Oh, if possible. Space Pepe says, we just need mass deportations of illegals, mobilize the military, and put the FEMA camps to good use, then send them packing back to whatever shithole they came from. This is sort of the hallmark of virtually every issue, be it our current political and demographic situation, circumcision. I mean, pretty much anything. This is not a matter of. This is not a technical problem. It's a matter of political will, and that can be manufactured and hyped. Political organizing sort of puts these arcane, esoteric issues into the hands of non-experts and common people.
True stuff. So I'll pull over John. He's an anti-Trump person, so hopefully we might get some interesting discussion. Oh wait, is that a super chat? From Mel Gibson 138, 199. Thank you. What does the DJ think of perpetrator?
Would you repeat that? You glitched on my end.
Mel Gibson wants to know what do you think of perpetrator? Or I don't know how to say that.
Perpetrator. I think he's talking about some synthwave music. That's some synthwave.
Man, if it's some like vaporwavy style shit, then like fuck it to hell.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you for the super chat. I'm gonna pull John over.
He's that Mel Gibson guy. Is always that guy making weird.
You guys want to take all that away? You guys want to put people in camps, kick people out? Is that what you want?
Hello, John. So John is in here. Do you have who do you have a question for exactly, Gregory or?
Oh, I thought I was already on. I don't know. They should know everything I've been sitting here trying to say.
How would we know it if you don't say it? That's almost like what are we?
That was the waiting room.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you guys something. When they came here in the 1400s, what were they trying to get away from?
Oh, what are these assholes? Get the hell out of here.
Well, hang on. They were trying to get. Hang on. We'll play this game. We'll play this game.
I'm not playing this game. I'm sick of this crap. Yo, there's difference between a settler and an immigrant, dude.
Okay. Just because you were born here doesn't give you the right.
I live in a part of America that's the oldest part of America. Some of the first inhabitants, European settlers, live in the part of America I live in. Not only that, they come here as a settler, they had to cut down the forest, kill all the Indians, then build the town. Forest they just cut down.
Hang on, let me say this, John. As a Texan, have you ever been to El Paso?
Kevin clicked out. He wants back in.
Yeah.
All right. I keep going.
John, have you ever been to El Paso? El Paso, Texas.
No.
Okay.
I've flown over it.
Okay, let me ask you this. Have you ever been to Houston, Texas?
No.
Okay, so that's where some of the most active MS-13 gang members are, and I can tell you I've personally seen them chop people up in the streets, and the police go ahead and run the other fucking way. That's how bad of a problem some of these illegals are. So
well,
do you want people? Let me ask you this: if they're here illegally and you want the police to do their job is to deport them, but you're against deporting them. Do you see how fucking stupid that is already?
Did you ever see I was against deporting MS-13 because they're running all over the streets?
Okay, they're illegal immigrants though. Most of them are illegal immigrants. Hang on, let me tell you their history. John, let me go ahead and tell you a little bit of their history. They're Salvadorian. They come from El Salvador. That is specifically what Maria Salvatrucha.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Hello.
All right, go ahead, Gregory.
Can I get a word in edgewise?
What were we trying to get away from back in the 1400s?
God. John Litzy, what is your proposition? What did you come in here for? Make your case in 3 sentences.
Is why don't you guys figure out a way to make things better without hurting people?
What does that mean?
Let me ask you this, John. We've asked them to leave politely, so what do you suggest?
Insanity!
Okay, Jew woman, don't talk
Can't anybody but make everything better. Just how do you propose that?
Okay, can we kick her?
She's trying to move her heads and figure it out instead of just choosing the easy way out.
That's an infantile argument, basically. You're saying, why can't you just not hurt people? No matter what policy we push for, people are going to get hurt. White people are getting displaced. They're getting their culture replaced. They're getting their entire, their entire inheritance, their birthright.
They're going to be completely out of their destiny. Will be completely out of their hands. They'll be a subservient group it'll be like South Africa.
Yeah, so that they're going to get hurt far worse than if we deported people who come from a different country back to the country they're supposed to be in.
You guys ever travel outside of your city and see how much land is out there?
You ever realize that we can only sustain so many people in this country with that land, and if we don't use it to farm, we're fucked?
You realize that since 1965 we haven't actually had freedom of association, so it doesn't matter how much land there is. In principle, we can't be left alone on it.
Try telling that to the Indians.
Why?
They have white. Hang on.
The Indians didn't have good border control, and they were destroyed.
Okay, the Indians now have white horse police. The white horse police on the Indian reservations, because there's a couple just 45 minutes from me. Okay, I'm telling you right now. Their problems, they have a fucking huge drug problem at every one of those fucking reservations, dude. So if you're going to say that for some reason now they have their own land, they're doing better, that's the same as saying that Venezuela's better off having communism.
Well, I actually agree that there's a case to be made sympathetic towards the Indians, but at the same time, that's happened. That's history. It's in the past. The country that exists right now is America. It's been here for hundreds of years. It's a white Christian nation. And we can deal with the Indians as a specific case. We don't need to be letting Somalians in who don't have any fucking relevancy in this country. We don't need to be letting Mexicans in. who don't belong here, who gave up their land willingly, sold it to us.
Well, who are not even native to here, who were down in Mexico, throwing people down ripping out people's hearts and throwing them down the steps of the pyramid of Quetzalcoatl. You know, they're not from anywhere around here.
You just want to appeal to the Mexican argument, like, oh, look at the Mexicans, therefore you should let in the entire third world. You've screwed over the Mexicans. Just tell that to the Mexicans. It's not really an argument. It's just sort of childish.
If you go look at the text,
wait, let's let John talk. John, what do you think about that? John, what do you think about that?
I think you guys have all valid points, but we live in a different time.
No, we live in now. That's not any different. It's still. Now,
it
look,
is different.
There are points on the Mexico and you, dude. Listen to this.
We have a third world country right underneath us.
Okay, first off,
we
as a country are only responsible for
Israel.
Let's turn on the bilge pumps to make sure we don't become a third world country too.
Yeah, here, John. Let me ask you this: do you at least believe you can't help others unless you help yourself?
I help others. I help everybody.
That wasn't my question. Do you believe that you do not have the ability to help others unless you first help yourself?
Like I said, I help everybody I can.
Right. So you don't believe in helping yourself at all.
He's a pathological altruist.
Wait. So let's find out what your beliefs are. So John, what's your beliefs on immigration? How do you think it should be?
Immigration?
Uh-huh.
Well, let me tell you something right now. We are all from somewhere else. I'm sure the city you live in is not the city you were born in.
The Indians are from Asia. The Indians are from Asia. They came across the land bridge. We're all immigrants, including the Indians.
That's true. Yeah. All right, but finish, John.
I believe if you work your way towards a path of citizenship, you should become a citizen. Not by having babies, but by doing a part for your country. You can even serve if you have to. Not just throwing people away that can help us.
Like the Germans were brought into the Roman army and ended up throwing the last Roman king off the throne.
That was then.
Wonderful.
Now.
Right. Okay.
This is interesting. This is where we actually.
You guys want to keep bringing back something that happened 100 years ago?
Okay, John. Let me ask you this: do you think that? Okay. Do you believe? Let me ask you this: you think that World War II, what happened to the Nazis, is bad? And I think we can both agree that is your belief, correct?
What are you talking about?
Let me ask you this: you want to talk about things that repeated in history. I feel like you're the type of person who wouldn't want another Third Reich to appear. So you wouldn't want another Holocaust. At the same time, why should we even look at examples like that of things that you don't want to repeat in history, things that would align with your kind of ideology? Why should we look to the past?
My ideology, listening to you guys for the past few months, hearing the things you guys have been saying, and I want the Holocaust?
Let me ask you this.
Wait.
So how are you going to learn from history?
Wait, MK.
Quiet. Yeah.
Okay, how are you going about this
in a very? Can I talk? You're going about this in a very roundabout way, claiming that you're going to provoke conditions that are going to result in another catastrophe like that. No, it's much simpler than that. It's just not in my self-interest to be in favor of mass immigration. It's as simple as that. I don't have to justify it any further than that. It is not at all in my biological self-interest to be in favor of that.
Have you guys ever had a Mexican cellmate straight from Mexico?
No, I've never been to jail.
But are you in favor of this for all countries or just for rich Western countries? Like, would you be in favor of
Mexican inmates for everybody? A Mexican inmate in every family home.
Wait, but let me ask, John. So politically, you say things in chat. So I feel like you're an anti-Trump person. So can you tell us who you are politically? What's your thoughts on Bernie, Hillary, Trump, and those kinds of things, so we can get a feel for where you're coming from?
All right, just to get you to set the record straight, I voted for myself. I wrote my own name in. So now what?
Okay, well, what's your vote? Well, what's your thoughts on Hillary, Bernie, and Trump then? Not who you voted for.
Well, Hillary wasn't very trustworthy. She had a weird, something was going on with her. I didn't think she'd make it through. She had some weird illness. And Trump knew exactly what to do. And he knew exactly the right places to do it. And he had a friend help him. Believe it or not, he did. And you guys can say there was no collusion all you want.
It was Jesus. We prayed for it.
Thank
you, Jesus.
Wait, let him finish.
Go there?
Sorry.
Cheating's cheating, dude. And he got caught, but he's still he's going to vote. It took 6 years to get Nixon out. We'll see how long it takes to get Trump out.
All right,
Can we not state conspiracies as fact if we don't know that they're
we're going way off the rails here at this point.
I'm the conspiracy theorist here. Fuck off, mate.
Okay, well, ideologically, I think John Litzy has some principles. He could be brought around to our side. I actually agree with him a lot more than MK Ultra, surprisingly enough. Neocons are completely rooted in the wrong worldview. It's just annoying.
Well, John, would you say you're a Democrat or a Republican? Or independent?
I'm borderline. I don't really pick a side. I sit on the fence. I pick what's right for the country. I pick who's going to do better. Like the election in Arizona between the two ladies. That doctor, she sounded great. She was smart. The other lady's like, "Oh, great. I got to figure out a way to get an office in Washington."
So
you got to pick what's a lot smarter and better for the country. Not necessarily their views, but what's going to help everything down the line in the future.
So you vote for people, not necessarily their policies or beliefs?
Here's the thing. Trump has only benefited himself. Look at his tax plan. He made over $1 billion off that. Makes you wonder. Those tariffs? Yeah, those are going straight back to Russia.
Wait, are you saying you didn't make any benefits off the taxes at all?
I didn't know Russia made our steel and aluminum. I thought that was Alcoa and U.S. Steel, but whatever.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't describe yourself as left or right. You just vote based off people that you like.
I'd vote what's better for everybody involved.
You like small government, big government?
I like programs that help people, so I don't see a bunch of weirdos walking around the streets with a needle hanging out of their arm.
So what about native workers? Would you say that mass immigration is bad for them because it pushes the wages down and floods the market? Would you be in favor of limiting mass immigration?
You really think a mass immigration is going to help? Watch your agriculture go down the tubes. Watch
yes.
every little dirty secret about America go down the tubes.
We're so dumb. We can't figure out how to pick strawberries.
Do you realize we had agriculture before the 1960s? We perfectly were able to pick our own sweet potatoes.
You think a rancher's going to hire somebody with full benefits and liability issues and have to be
doesn't matter because in 10 years it's going to
think that's going to happen?
As somebody
who
whose
pushed
family
for all
owns
those benefits
farms,
and those
actually,
things?
yeah.
Those are all democratic things. Like
It's
people on the
gonna be
right don't
automated.
even want minimum wage.
It's going to be automated in
I
like
have
20
some comments and questions for the leftist.
Go ahead.
Oh, God damn it.
First off, to
Mind
walk
you,
back.
I would just. Yeah, I would just note.
Hurting.
I would just note that this left.
Wait. Just let analytical chick go. Let's all just sit back for a second. Can we do
Sorry,
that?
go
Just sit back.
Patiently, come on, guys.
All right, go ahead.
First, I want to walk back to his little statement about hurting people. How do you decide which people get hurt and which people don't? Because let me tell you, the reason why I am so fervently anti for all these constantly bringing these people in from third world countries is actually, strangely enough, because I'm a feminist.
Wait. Before you go any farther, why are we bringing them here? Why are they scattered around the world right now? Maybe we should go to the root of the problem first before we solve the other problem.
What are you talking about scattered around the world? They chose to build their own countries in all those parts of the world.
Yeah, those mass immigrations were by choice, dude.
Really?
Come on.
Like the poppy field farmer who's been growing his poppies all day and his wife's been selling blankets and they're all sitting around. All of a sudden, boom! And there's like he looks up and his whole family's dead, and it says United States military on the drone.
So you're
wait.
upset
Let
that
analytical
people
chick
are
finish.
farming
Let her
opium?
finish. Let her analytical chick finish. Go ahead.
Actually making a point. My point is that the reason why I'm so fervently against immigration is the number of times I've had my ass and my tits grabbed by foreign men. Stumble with this broken English. Oh, I'm so sorry. Or like, they grope me. Oh, excuse me, and then they like grope my ass or grope my tits and run away.
Listen, you mean non-Jews?
This happened more times than I can count.
I think you got groped because you were asking
when I lived
for
in
it.
Texas, it happened quite a few times.
What are you wearing?
People who had broken Spanglish.
You sure you didn't get groped because you were wearing a revealing outfit and you were asking
Hey,
for
so
it?
what were you saying about the spread of refugees?
It's a choice, man. Because here's the thing: people control their own actions. So I'm only in control of me, right? So 1,500 people get together. You think it's just like by force? They're like, hey, all the ones that are coming here to Texas that are kind of sitting at the border. You think that just 1,500 people paraded through like 6 different countries?
My point for this guy. Can I finish? My point for this guy is, how do you decide who gets hurt? Because you said people are getting hurt by wanting to come here and get deported. Well, people are getting hurt by those people coming here.
No, they're getting hurt in other countries because of the policies we make around the world.
Do you know what a coyote is? We have a problem with those in Texas. Do you know what the coyotes are?
Really,
I'm
dude?
not talking about the.
Are you really
I'm not
like
talking
an
about the
animal
animal.
or something like that? Don't insult my intelligence.
Well, I'm asking because people don't actually know.
You're blaming.
No, I do. It's somebody who helped. They either traffic drugs or immigrants across the border.
Do you know that do you know that most of those women that are involved in that trafficking, from the women that are rescued, most of them, 50% or more, are raped. That is a statistic.
They're country women.
By the way, those are Mexican.
Those are just the ones that are getting smuggled over here. Those are just the illegal ones. Imagine what those same types of people will do to the people
over
here.
And get raped. What do you want me to fucking do about it?
So why are we so busy rebuilding Afghanistan
Guys,
and Syria when we should be helping Mexico?
Okay, can we bring the levels down here a bit? MK Ultra, those are Mexican women. She was talking about women. She was talking about women in America being hurt. Those are illegal immigrants. You're kind of missing the point.
My point is, though, if those people are already crossing the border to get these women in, then what are they going to do to people who are already here? If they don't respect the border and they don't respect the people they're smuggling, what do you think they're going to do to the people who live here?
They're going to rape them. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Those are the people who are giving them money. What do you think they're going to do to the people who are like us, the average citizen? Failure upon my fucking thinking. And
I'm going to remove.
Thanks for having me
2
on,
people.
dude,
Oh, you could stay in here. You don't have to leave.
You're kind of the main opposition we want to talk to, so you should stay.
Can you stay or you have to go?
No, I can stay, man.
All right, I was gonna remove.
Cut the check to me. It's all good.
I love all you.
I think principles and I respect that.